economists and political analysts to assess whether Britain's royal welcome to President Trump strengthened its bargaining hand or simply revealed limits to UK leverage. Welcome, Mr. Emamian. How do you interpret the balance between symbolism and substance in Trump's second state visit?
Thank you for your question. First of all, it was a very successful state visit. Both sides benefited. The royal family also showed what an important role they play in, as you mentioned, soft power, especially as there is no effective British lobby in US. So the British royal family is the British lobby. And they are professionals, and they are a lobbying force for Britain worldwide. So that was one part of it. And it was a great success for Britain as a whole. On the other hand, for President Trump, became closer to an ally, and he didn't come empty-handed. He came with something like 250 billion of investment into the UK. Having said that, his administration later on in a press conference said it would have been 5 times higher if Keir Starmer government would follow the policies of President Donald Trump. Well, and these are basic policies. They're not difficult policies. Lower taxation, less regulations, encouragement for inward investment, and lower interest rate. And none of these the government is following. The Keir Starmer government has no plan for less regulation. Every day they are increasing regulation, especially they are making labor laws more difficult. Now a startup has to give the same benefits to its employees as a company like B or HSBC Bank. And these are crazy labor law regulations which are coming into effect. So what they are saying is, if you want more investment, you have to do that. So what I'm trying to say is the British royal family did a great job. President Trump did a great job. This is now Keir Starmer government. They have to do a better job.
Mm-hmm. Well, did Starmer's cordial approach protect British interests, or did it come across or verge on over-accommodation?
That's an interesting question. I am baffled why there is so much hostility towards President Trump, especially in the British media. There is nothing in it. I question it. What is in it to be so hostile to a leader of a superpower, especially an ally? The only thing I find is perhaps people on the left of politics, because 70% of the British press is controlled by left of politics. They find President Trump a threat to national security and everything else. And they keep mentioning that. And I suppose the roots of it goes back to his first term, when he gave confidence to the Americans that they don't need alliances in order to do things in geopolitics. They can do it on their own. And they found that a threat to the existence, this is the Europeans generally, they found that a threat to the existence of NATO. But it is not a threat to the existence of NATO. All President Trump was doing in his first term was telling his own people, the Americans, that you're a great nation and you can do things on your own. You don't need alliances. It's not necessary. But he's not against alliances. On the contrary, he's looking for more trade, more peace, and more economic development.
Mm-hmm. Well, some observers are looking at the conclusion of this visit as a modest trade outcome for London. What does a modest trade outcome say about London's negotiating leverage with Washington? How might this visit shape Britain's broader post-Brexit foreign policy orientation?
I think there is a bit of romanticism here. And I tell you what I mean by romanticism. There is that belief now that if you are friends with somebody and you have a cordial relationship with them, then they would go along anything you say. No, you could have a friendly relationship, but unless they agree with your policies and your methods, they would not follow you. So going back to geopolitics, you could have a very good relationship, friendly relationship, great cordial relationship. But if the policies are different, which I mentioned previously, if the policies were aligned, the measure of investment from US into UK would have been 5 times higher, would be over 1 trillion instead of 250 billion. So what I'm trying to emphasize, policies are more important than personal relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, does it signal then a post-Brexit policy or a broader strategy leaning towards the United States even more so?
The problem with things like Brexit is they have no definition. And there are many things that now it goes around, they have no definition, like security guarantees. It has no definition. And we keep mentioning it, but nobody knows what exactly they mean. And the problem with Brexit was it had no definition. So we don't know what is Brexit. And there is no reason, just if Brexit didn't happen, we couldn't have a closer relationship with the United States or work with them more. And similarly with security guarantees, when it comes to Ukraine, when they talk about security guarantees, nobody can tell you what a security guarantee is. What is it? But they keep mentioning it. So I think we are very much lost in words instead of being honest and exact about what we want to do and try to find the definitions in simple terms. We try to blur the issue and somehow delay the decision making till actually decisions are made by events rather than the politicians making the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, Trump, during the press conference with Starmer, clearly stated that they had a disagreement regarding the recognition of Palestinian statehood. But were there any signs that Trump was willing, maybe in the future, to coordinate seriously on Ukraine or Gaza?
Well, again, thank you for bringing up Gaza and also Palestinian statehood, recognition of it. Again, as I said, there is no exact definition what is recognition of a Palestinian statehood and how will it benefit except being a symbolic gesture. Are there better options than recognizing a Palestinian statehood right now? And again, similar thing, we are lost in syntax and optics and semantics. I find the politicians mostly doing conferences for optics and uses semantics just to fill headlines. But when you actually ask them exactly, why are you saying that? What is your plan? They have no plan. And it's been the case for even industrial policies in UK. There is no industrial policy now in the UK. All they do is follow what the Chinese wants to do. And that's the problem right now in terms of geopolitics, the rift between US and Europeans. And even this time, President Trump asked the Europeans, starting with British, to actually impose tariffs on Chinese. And they were surprised by this fact.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Emamian, do you think that Britain could have extracted clearer commitments on tariffs release or AI investment?
Big time, they could have done that. But then, in order to do that, you have to understand the dynamic of money. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, most of British politicians, they have no experience in business, or they've never worked in private sector. Whether you take the prime minister or his chancellor, they've never been in private sector. Maybe the chancellor, Rachel Reeves, she would say she worked a couple of months in HSBC, and she would consider that as private sector, work at a bank. Well, we don't know what actually she did in the bank for a couple of months. Otherwise, she was working for Bank of England, which is public sector again. So when you haven't worked and earned £10, you don't know how to show somebody else to make £10. So if these people have never been in business, they don't know how to attract investment or create business and generate wealth. You just look at comparison. President Trump attracted 17 trillion in 7 months into US. The British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has not attracted any money. The chunk he's attracted, 250 billion, was because of President Trump. It was a gift from President Trump to him. So what I'm trying to say is there is that lack of ability and knowledge about the dynamic of money, and that the roots of it is because the British politicians have never been, most of them have never been in private sector.
Yes. Well, how is the junior partner narrative likely to resonate with the British voters?
That's a great question. 100 years ago, the British Empire, the British pound was the world currency. Britain was the market leader in all products, and they had access to cheap labor in most of the colonies. 100 years later, they have none of that, and US has all of that. But having said that, British are very good in playing number one. So when they are dealing with other countries like the French, the Germans, the Russians, the Chinese, they as a number one, they deal very well with them. And they treat the others as equal number ones. They are okay. But when it comes to other nations, the British are number ones and the other nations are number two. But the British, they have that inability to know how to conduct themselves as number two. So when it comes to actually conducting themselves with US, they are number two, but they find it difficult to play that role. While the French, the Germans, the Italian, the Spanish, all other countries, they have no problem being number two when they are dealing with the United States. So there is that cultural thing that, this is my personal opinion, by the way, and my personal experience. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I find. The British have difficulty playing number two.
Well, with the cultural aspect and the pageantry and everything, looking ahead, how can London balance the ceremonial warmth with harder diplomatic asks?
The people of this country are great. They are hardworking, they are fair, and they are generally very good people, generally good people. It comes down to the leadership. You take an analogy would be like a football team. If they have a good manager, the team would be good. With the best players, if the manager is bad, the team would not succeed. So right now, we don't have a good managers. We haven't had a good managers for the last 15 years. By managers, I mean prime ministers or political leaders. So hopefully somehow we get around that. But there is now a difficulty in finding competent, strong leaders in British politics.
Mr. Babak Emamian, the political analyst, thank you very much for shedding light on the fine line between diplomacy and defense.